Welcome to episode 71 of Kids with Big Emotions podcast, formerly known as Calm Nights, Strong Days. I am your host, Andy Clark. Today, we are diving into punishment and how punishment isn't necessarily the answer when it comes to neurodiverse kids. And we're going to start really rethinking discipline for these emotional kids, these neurodiverse kids, kids with anxiety, kids with outbursts, kids who say things and upset others, kids who don't appear to be listening when somebody's asking them to do things, or they don't follow what somebody is asking them to do. We're going to start talking about how maybe punishment is not, well, not maybe, definitely punishment is not the answer for this. And you definitely are able to disagree. I would love to hear your thoughts about this. You can message me. My email is in the show notes, as well as I have where you can book a 30-minute call with me in order to chat this through with me and really see. I would love to hear your side if you don't agree with what I have to say. I would also hear if you do agree with this and how it's working for you. So let's dive in. So where's this coming from? It's been actually a couple of things that have happened in the past week. One is I am diving deep into this executive functioning course with a friend of mine whose child is neurodiverse. They're autistic. And executive functioning is something that I had no idea what it was. When I started, I kept hearing this word in a lot of the neurodiverse 2E gifted groups. I'm like, what the heck is executive functioning? It never made sense to me until I started diving into what it is. So executive functioning are these skills where we look at them, we can describe executive functioning as being like the manager or the CEO of the way that we execute things. So, for example, the way that we take directions, the way that we execute plans, the way that we control our emotions and our moods, the way that we're actually able to read and write, the way that we're actually able to process information in our brain. We have a manager of that, and the manager is directing all of this during the day and every action and motion that we take. And when we start to struggle in this, everything becomes chaos. So the way that I like to think about it is like an orchestra. So you have the conductor. Now the conductor is going to bring in the violins at a certain time. They're going to tell them when to increase in volume and when to decrease, when the horns should be coming in, when the strings come in, when different pieces should be coming in, when they should be going out, when they should be stopping, when they should be slowing down, when they should be speeding up. And when the conductor, let's say that the conductor is behind on when they let the violin come in, or they forget to stop the horns at a certain part, it's going to really change that piece of music. And the people in the audience are going to they're going to hear that music, that piece very differently. It's going to be very confusing. It's going to sound really bad. And we're going to know that there's mistakes and things that are happening. Well, that is how things are working in a lot of neurodiverse kids' brains. And in these kids' brains, when they're really trying to follow a plan, their kids don't. So they don't yell and scream at other kids or hit other kids because they want the attention. They don't want other kids to be looking at them and thinking, oh, they're the bad kid. They don't want any of this. And so when we start diving into executive functioning, what we're learning is there are some base foundational executive functioning pieces that need to be addressed first before we can even address other ones. So the first ones are our perception. So if we think about if there's a child that doesn't really notice those around them, they don't notice when something that they say has upset the people around them. They don't notice that another child wants a turn. They don't notice that you're even standing in the room. They don't notice, they're not perceiving things around them in their external environment, or they're not even perceiving things inside internally. They're not perceiving what they need as well. They're not really aware of what they need in certain periods of time. That's their perception. Another one is attention. So they may not be able to focus on certain things. This is where we get the ADHD. They can't focus on things. They may not be able to read a book. They may have been able to read a lot when they were younger, when it was like small books that they could get through really quick. But once it gets to chapter books, they really struggle to focus and take in the information. You ask them to do something and they're not doing it because they lost focus on what they're doing, or they start it, but then they end up into something else. Attention as well can be where they're actually hyper focused, where they're maybe noticing all the sounds around them and all the noise and all the other things that are going on around them that they can't actually concentrate on what they want to concentrate on. And they might start getting upset. They might start getting angry. And so those are the two, those are attention. Now we start working into verbal working memory and nonverbal working memory. These are more to do with how you remember words. So if a child forgets words, or they're like, what did you say again? If they're asking you to repeat directions, quite often that can be a struggle with executive functioning and verbal working memory or nonverbal working memory. If they're having outbursts at certain times, or they're struggling with reading, they're struggling with writing, with certain pieces of them, those could be not because they actually have a reading or writing struggle. It could be because they have a struggle with their verbal working memory or nonverbal working memory. If they're not able to remember sounds, if you're repeating over and over again the phonetic sounds and you tell the child that they have to keep practicing it, but no matter how often they practice, they can't retain the information, that could be verbal working memory or nonverbal working memory, depending on which piece of the brain is not able to connect that. And then we get into inhibition. So these are the first 5: perception, attention, verbal working memory, nonverbal working memory, and inhibition. Inhibition is where a child screams. This is my son, where he tells you after he's done it, he's like, I didn't even know it was going to happen. It's just all of a sudden he's hit. All of a sudden he's yelled at you. All of a sudden he's getting mad for something. And it comes so quick, so out of the blue, and then he's done and he's almost in shock because it happened. That is inhibition. Inhibition too is when you need to keep doing the same thing over and over, where like you have to keep going on the slide, or you need to keep playing Pokemon. Kids with inhibition do struggle more. Kids in general struggle with being sucked into, well, adults too, into computers, be it social media, be it a video game, be it YouTube videos. But kids with inhibition struggle even more because they really learn how we get sucked into those platforms. You also have this inhibition that stops you from being able to do that. If you have a child that struggles to stop, that you need to leave and go somewhere, but they can't stop because their game is not finished, or whatever they were doing is not finished, and they're in absolute tears and stressing out or anger because they need to finish this before they can go, that is inhibition as well. So inhibition has all kinds of different layers to it. I haven't actually covered all of the different things that our kids could be doing just from perception, attention, verbal working memory, nonverbal working memory, and inhibition. And these are just the base foundational executive functioning. There are higher level ones, one being planning, but there are so many. I think there's about 10 or 12 other higher level executive functioning pieces that, if we think about it, that conductor in our kids' brains is not conducting. Now, your child may be amazing with some of these and not with another. So that's where the manager is managing certain ones very, very well, but the manager is not able to manage some of the other parts of the executive functioning. So when we're looking at it from this lens, that's where I was speaking with my friend and I was like, see, this is why I'm constantly saying we should not be punishing these kids. She's like, oh my God, I totally see it. I am looking at this from such a different lens now that she's been diving into this course with me. She is like, I am seeing that my child can't versus won't, that my child is not actually having these outbursts of hitting or screaming or yelling or whatever, insert anything, insert anxiety, insert like meltdown, crisis, panic attack, insert any of these things that our kids do, or not listening to you when they're not following what you've asked them to do, when they're not able to execute what you've asked them to do, when they're asking you to repeat for the 50th time what you just asked them to do. All of these things that we would normally punish for, have some sort of a discipline for, because this child is not doing what we've just asked, is not because the child there was someone the other day too, as I said, there was many stories this past week. We were out and about, and there was this boy that I do know has ADHD. And his dad had come and asked him about something. I was far enough away and I didn't hear the entire conversation. I just felt so bad for this child. The dad's amazing. I'm not saying anything negative about the father. He asked him about something. He's like, hey, did you do such and such? And the boy said, no. He goes, I was doing it. He goes, I had started it. I went and I did this and this. He goes, and then that one slipped my mind. And I just saw this boy was in tears. He's like, I'm so sorry, Dad. And his dad just looked at him, was like, his dad understands the ADHD. I'm not sure how much the dad understands the executive functioning piece. I'm like, so would love to sit down with him and talk to him about it, but I'm cautious about telling everyone and everybody about this. Because not everybody wants to hear everything we have to say, but his parents are phenomenal that I may, next time I see them, I might just sit down and go, hey, I've been studying this new thing. And I've been learning about this, and I've been learning about this attention piece. And I'm seeing that it's not an issue of them trying to focus for longer. It's an issue of them learning how to refocus when they are on something, that we're looking at this from a different lens. And there's ways that we can start helping that brain. Because this brain is working and developing up until that 25. And if we can help these kids, we can actually help teach that manager in their brain, that CEO in the brain, how to manage all of these pieces before the age of 25. You can do this later as an adult. So adults with ADHD, adults with planning struggles, organization struggles, decision-making struggles, focus, attention, they can work on it. There's been studies, there's been a lot of work with like people who've had strokes and stuff, and they can relearn these pieces that the executive functioning is in charge of. It just has to be done a lot more repetitively, a lot more consistently, to work on these strategies. The kids under the age of 23 to 25 pick it up a lot faster. The younger, the faster that they can pick it up and learn it as well. That being said, though, depending on how severe some of this is with some of the kids, it can take a year to 2 years of working on this multiple times a week in order for the management section to learn this skill. Some kids can learn it really quickly. Some it just takes longer. So this is definitely on an individual basis. I haven't dove deep into autism, so I don't know with autism how much of it can, how much of it can't. I don't know that. I will be diving into it. I know that in the course that I'm taking, there is some more information on autism. And depending on how far, I don't know the quite the proper wording, but how far into the spectrum that they are, that you can work on it, but you can help with some. And the main thing that I do want to really get out of this today is understanding that when you do see these things, I know that since I've been studying it, I see it in so many of my kids' friends, and I find it so fascinating now. Whereas before I'd be like, why is this kid not doing that? I used to judge, right? And now I'm like, oh, that's this piece of the executive functioning, that's planning, or that's attention, or that's like decision making. I'm like understanding what pieces of the executive functioning is with these kids. And it's funny because when they're at my house now, the way that I'm speaking to them and doing things with them is slightly different in order to actually help some of their executive functioning skills, because this is just the coolest thing. My hope though from this is you're understanding that even if there's a child, autism, not autism, whose executive functioning system is so struggling, my hope is that in understanding more about their executive functioning system, you're understanding more when they have certain reactions, that those reactions are more of an issue that they can't than they won't, or they're not trying hard enough, or they're not doing it well enough, or they're just not even wanting to do it. It's usually an issue of they can't. So hopefully that comes through. After that, yes, we can start working on it and seeing where these kids are going through it, which leads me to another story as well. Like, as I said, there was so many things this week that happened. There was another mom that messaged me that that we've been diving into this world together. I've been really helping her out a lot in seeing that things that are going on with her daughter. First off, that this mom's not alone. She feels so alone. She doesn't know other parents who have kids that are struggling with relationships with other kids, struggling with when their child is not able to perceive that other kids are not receptive to what they're saying, or the way that they're saying things are probably quite factual. You're not very good at that. It could be very factual. That child at that moment may not be good at that certain task, but that they're not able to perceive that the other kids are, they're not able to perceive that the other kids are taking that badly, or that some of the things that they're saying are hurting other kids' feelings. And so that's what happened with this parent. And we know both the kids. This mom is feeling so bad that their child said something to another child and really hurt that child's feelings. And at the same time, she's learning that this is an executive functioning struggle in her daughter, that her daughter is trying her best. She does not want kids to be upset, especially this other child. Her daughter loves this other child. They hang out a lot, like that she doesn't want to hurt their feelings. And she doesn't understand how what she said hurt their feelings. So punishing her for something that she doesn't even understand, because her executive functioning, that management piece in her brain, isn't even aware of what it's doing and how it's doing yet. That this mom and I was talking to her, I'm like, oh, these are the pieces. This isn't a perception piece. This is an inhibition piece. This is, there's other parts too, like part of the attention, and there's other parts of the higher end executive functionings, all in this one action that this child is doing. There are 3 to 5 different executive functioning struggles that this child's having in this one action that they are taking. And so disciplining this child for that action does not is not necessarily the right thing to do. Well, it's not the right thing to do because this child is not doing it on purpose. They don't even understand it. So disciplining somebody for something they don't understand, that's hard. And it's also not going to, disciplining them isn't going to fix the problem. It really is about diving into this executive functioning, doing the intakes, checking in, doing all these intakes, finding out where are all the executive functioning struggles that this child's having and working on them in a way that works for that child at a pace that works for them realistically and helping them out. It's all about supporting them, right? The more that our kids feel supported, the less they're in a stress state as well. And that leads us into the animals that I was speaking about the other day. When we're talking about neurodiverse kids, they can get, when we're talking about neurodiverse kids, they can get stressed out so much when their executive functioning system is struggling. And then when their executive functioning system is struggling, it stresses them out even more. And it becomes this revolving, like this whole vicious cycle. And that's when we start seeing the shark come out, where they're like feeling like everybody's on them, everybody's attacking them, or they're going to attack, and we need to be aware. And they may like yell or kick or scream or, lash out. They may be like Marlin the clownfish, where Nemo's dad, where they have the anxiety, where they're worried about, where they're not able to make changes. They're not able to stop what they're doing and go to something else. They don't like transitions. A lot of those are actually executive functioning struggles. And then the anxiety kicks in too because of the executive functioning struggles as well. And then we can get to the turtle where they just hide, where they are just so overwhelmed. They have so much going on in their brain. That manager, like if you think of an orchestra where the conductor is doing such a poor job, can you imagine the overwhelm, the noise that is happening in that brain? And that can just get you to either become like a shark and want to lash out, or become like a turtle and just hide and make it all go away and all stop. If I just stop everything now, if I stop the thinking, if I stop trying to do anything, then the manager doesn't have to do as much and they can actually get a break. So they will go into their turtle. So a lot of these emotions and everything that these kids are feeling are valid. And trying to punish them for something that they are not able to manage yet, for something that they don't have control over yet, is hard. Now, that being said, if your child is in a shark and they are attacking and hitting and violent, then definitely certain boundaries need to be put into place, along with the compassion, the caring, the understanding, and helping them after safety has been made for everybody around. And after that child has come down a little bit is when you can start implementing other strategies other than discipline, and really, really help those kids get back into that dolphin brain as you start working on helping their executive functioning skills. Right, that was a lot that we dove into. Executive functioning has taken me over a year now of diving into and learning and understanding, and now doing this course. The deep dive that I've gone into it to even get to where I'm at and understanding it and being able to help my son and my son's friends, and starting to help my clients as well with the executive functioning piece, has taken me a long while. So what I threw at you today is a lot. Take your time with it. I'm going to be breaking this down more. If you want more of it, let me know. If you want to talk about it, book a 30-minute call with me. There's never, ever any intention when I get on a call that, hey, you're going to become a paying client, right? I'm here. I'm here to build connections. I'm here to learn more about you. And I'm here to support you. So book that 30-minute call with me. There is one call per person. And book your call. We can hop on and I will walk through this with you. My hope is that with this episode that you are seeing and understanding that the behaviors of our kids it upsets them just as much, or if not more at times than it upsets us. And when it's upsetting them because of their behaviors or because of their struggles, then that's as well when the shark comes in, or the clownfish and the anxiety comes in, or the turtle goes into their shell. They're already feeling bad enough. Their shame spiral is feeling bad enough. Their confusion of what's going on, their thoughts of them, they know they're struggling and they don't know why, and they don't know how to help it or to fix it, is struggling. But they don't need to be disciplined on top of that. They need the kindness, the caring, the compassion, and for the both of you together to start building in supports to help them. I'm here to help. If you would like to work with me, book a 30-minute call as well. As I said, it's never my intention to say, hey, you're going to work with me, but hop on a call, ask me all your questions. And if you feel we'd be a good fit, we can start working together. If not, then we will find other solutions and strategies for you. I'm here to help as best as I can. I also do have a Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. So add yourself to that Facebook group, come and join other parents who are like you so that you don't feel alone. And let's do this together. I'm on this journey still. It's been a long journey to get to where I am, to be helping my son to the point where, oh my God, I'm so proud. And I was just telling neighbors today about the progress we've made. Oh, the gains he's had are just phenomenal. So amazing, so exciting. And I would love to help get you there as well. All my links are in the show notes, and I will see you in the next episode.